Hey everyone, Skull902 here. Remember when I said this?
Blaze is a princess and guardian of the Soul Emeralds in an alternate dimension, in the handheld games, and possibly maybe from the future in the main series. Once again, Generations isn't helping things.
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I believe I might have an answer. So let's do some speculating and try to answer a question asked many a time. Where exactly does Blaze the Cat come from? It's important to note that we actually do have an official answer from Takashi Iizuka, the head of Sonic Team. He once said that Blaze is simply from the Soul Dimension and that all the characters involved in 06 have amnesia regarding the event, due to how it ended. So why am I even making this video if the question has already been answered? Well, hold your fucking horses, I'll tell you why. Even though we have this answer from Iizuka, I do think we need more info, for two reasons. The first is that while it does seem like a fine enough explanation for where Blaze ended up after sealing Iblis into herself, he doesn't definitively say where she started out at any point in history, so we're still left wondering, did she get there from her origins in the future, or did that timeline just never exist in the first place? The second reason is, it seems to me as if Iizuka isn't terribly familiar with the continuity of the Sonic games, which is astonishingly weird considering he's been working on the series since the development of 3 and Knuckles. An example of this is his interviews regarding Classic Sonic, where it appears as though he believes that those games all take place in a separate universe even though Generations made it pretty clear that the classic characters were from the same timeline. So I don't know if I can really take his word on this one. As an aside, in terms of the comics, Ian Flynn said that he believes nothing related to 06 ever happened, at least where Blaze and Silver being friends is concerned. Sega doesn't want anyone knowing this, but that's secretly why he still hasn't been hired to write for the games. Hashtag, Sega ships Sylvain seriously, suckus. Now on to what I think could be the answer. The games I'm going to be basing my opinions on are 06 and Generations mostly, and then Rush kinda. You'll see what I mean. So, as previously stated, during the events of 06, Blaze sealed Iblis into herself and was sent somewhere else from it after Silver was unable to do the job himself. Then, at the game's end, its events are completely wiped from history after Elise blows out the original flames of disaster. We'll get back to 06 later, but how does Generations play into all this? Well, her character biography in the game states that she's from the Soul Dimension, and when looking at the opening cutscene, we can see that Blaze starts the game out at Sonic's birthday, but Silver doesn't. And furthermore, when confronting him before his rival battle, his text box shows that he remembers Sonic by name. This is very important, and I think it's the key to the answer. Using these clues, I think it makes sense to say that Blaze was originally from the future but must have been transported to the Soul Dimension. Her amnesia comes from Iblis being separated from her body due to the events of 06 being erased. She simply can't remember where she comes from, aside from vague details like being teased about her powers during childhood, and therefore must believe that the Soul Dimension is her home. Doesn't really explain her status as a princess, though. Maybe she did something heroic and the people gave her some kind of honors as a reward for her actions, I don't know. Since the handheld games are their own separate continuity, I'm going to imagine something similar to Rush happened in the main series timeline, and that's how Blaze knows Sonic. Meanwhile, this also provides an explanation for Silver's existence in the main series. The post-apocalyptic future he comes from being cleansed from history also undid his birth. With this in mind, crossing into the Soul Dimension would be the only explanation for Blaze's continued survival. But, as the Time Eater is a space-time manipulating god, I imagine Eggman somehow discovered this abandoned timeline while formulating his plan and brought it back into existence as yet another alternate dimension, restoring Silver to the living in the process and making him the only character involved to remember the events of 06. At least up until Blaze went away, or maybe slightly before then. It'd have to be after he and Sonic made amends, again considering his pre-fight dialogue. So those were my thoughts on the subject of Blaze's origin. Do you agree, or do you think I'm unbelievably dumb for even thinking up such a crackpot theory? Let me know in the comments. I've been Skull902, thank you for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Wait a second. In Generations, she recognizes Crisis City if you talk to her in the white space immediately after her challenge act. Crap.